I'm Fletcher Roden, and this is Tracking the Lone Wolf, based on my book, Tracking the Lone Wolf, the Sigma at work, at home, and at play. Today on Tracking the Lone Wolf, getting to know the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. Tracking the Lone Wolf is a twice-monthly show with fascinating information which is vital to just about everybody. So I suggest you like this video and subscribe to this video channel. The book is available in paperback and for Kindle and in audiobook format from Audible or other platforms. I am a public speaker, and you can learn more about that at the website trackingthelonewolf.com. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. Well, this is what leads us to understand that the human psyche is much more complex than merely alpha or beta. There are 16 types, and they are given alphabetic designations, such as INFJ. And each one of these, though confusing, has a relevance. The relevance is in the 4 dichotomies. Now, what makes a personality type, basically, is how they process their feelings and their thoughts. And there are 4 dichotomies in which they can do this. The first is extroversion versus introversion, or E versus I. So that's the first dichotomy, is extroversion versus introversion. And that's depending on whether or not the person focuses on the outer world, extroversion, or the inner world, introversion. So when we say INFJ, the I stands for introversion, not extroversion. That relates to how this person processes their thoughts and feelings in an introverted fashion rather than an extroverted fashion. Clear? That's the first dichotomy. The second dichotomy is sensing versus intuition, or S versus J. So in INFJ, the N stands for intuition, which is favored over sensing in that dichotomy. Sensing is basically information, and intuition is roughly interpretation. The next dichotomy is thinking versus feeling, T versus F. So in INFJ, the F stands for feeling, which is favored over thinking. Basically, when you're talking about thinking versus feeling, you're talking about logic versus circumstance. The fourth dichotomy is judging versus perceiving, the J or the P. So in INFJ, this person favors judging, and in INFP, that person favors perceiving. The reason I use INFJ and P is because those are the 2 sigma personalities. Now, when we say judging or perceiving, we do mean to perceive, and we do mean to create judgments based on those perceptions. And generally, one will favor one of these sigma types, INFJ, will favor judgment over INFP. But we're not really talking about judgmental thoughts. Just as when we talk about critical thinking, we're not really talking about being critical. We're talking about analysis. So when we talk about judgment versus perception, what we really mean is seeking a closed-ended resolution or an open-ended resolution. INFJ, the J, the judgmental type in that dichotomy, favors a closed-ended resolution, as many people do. They just have to end it. It has to be done. I need a resolution on this. Can't leave it open. Have to get a closure on this. So that is an INFJ. The INFP is happier to leave things open-ended. thinking, well, maybe they'll change next year. It's a more growth-minded perspective, whereas the INFJ is a bit more fixed-minded of a perspective. If you look at the other episodes of Tracking the Lone Wolf, or if you read the book, Tracking the Lone Wolf, the Sigma at Work, at Home, and at Play, you'll see that there's a corollary between and amongst all of these things. I personally am an INFP. I pursue open-ended resolutions when possible. Also, we're a bit more artistic. But the INFJ is not just, don't think of this as a judgmental person, just as someone who seeks closure in their processing of their thoughts and their feelings. And really, all of the 16 Myers-Briggs personality types, which are also given nicknames, by the way, they all come down to how an individual processes their thoughts and their feelings. Which of the 4 dichotomies, which of the 2 they prefer in each case. And that's it. I hope I've helped to demystify this code a little bit. Perhaps I can add just a little bit of background to the creators of this type indicator, Catherine Cook Briggs and Isabel Briggs Myers were a mother-daughter team in the early 1900s who created this type indicator, these 4 dichotomies and the 16 resultant combinations, as a way of trying to figure out Catherine Cook's husband. I find that amusing. They were Victorian thinkers. They were ahead of their time. They were an early pioneer family in homeschooling. And although they were mere dabblers in what was then the infant state of the soft science of psychology, they made quite an impact. And both of these women, I think, are considered Sigmas, Sigma personalities. I would call them both INF. I think INFJs, but I'm not sure. Certainly they are both Sigmas. They give us the Sigma personality as we know it, at least the ability to identify it and to understand it. These alphabetic designations, INFP, INFJ, they can be daunting. A lot of people I know are turned off by them. But once you understand them, they make sense and they help to clarify what qualities any given personality is of the 16. So it's really a brilliant construct, one that more people should recognize and investigate. But it can get confusing. And if you really want to learn more about it, you can read more about it in my book, Tracking the Lone Wolf, the Sigma at Work, at Home, and at Play. It's available in paperback and Kindle and in audiobook format from Audible and other platforms. I'm Fletcher Roden, and this has been Tracking the Lone Wolf. We'll see you again.